Hey everybody, welcome to the School Live. I'm Chris Do and you are?
I'm Jose Caballero.
I talk about the business of design.
And I talk about the design of business. Yeah.
Jose, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about design trends in 2015. That's today's show.
I'm really excited about that. So we're going to have a guest. Who's our guest?
We're going to have Sue Parker, CEO and co-founder of Frank Creative Work Group in Portland, Oregon. She's awesome. We're going to be talking to her about what are the trends in 2015 that we really should pay attention to it. And this first segment, I'm going to be talking and jiving a bit with Sue, talking about alternative business models, which is what we are going to talk about. And then Chris is going to ask some questions and be Chris Doe. And then we're going to do a free for all. What does that mean?
Yeah.
You're going to be like,
will Sue cooperate?
How much money do you make?
Will Sue cooperate with the question?
We'll do that. And then we're going to have some really great audience questions. And that's going to be Nicole Johnson taking care of it.
Segment 3.
It's segment 3. Yeah.
Right.
So that's it.
Welcome to the show,
Let's
Sue.
introduce Sue.
Sue.
What do you want to know about Sue, Chris? Here, I'll give you a little top line, aside from the fact that she's looking lovely there in the sunshine in Portland, Oregon. She's a 30-year veteran with global brands, and she has done and worked a lot in the athletic, outdoor, action sports, and LOHAS markets. But I'm going to let her talk a little bit about herself. Introduce yourself. Give us like a 1 minute, like your awesomeness kind of overview.
Well, first of all, you guys, thank you very much for having me. I'm very honored to be with you and chatting about business. Working in branding and marketing, advertising and communications for about 30 years. And I've worked with a lot of major brands and a lot of very interesting startups.
Can you give us just a brief example to be a little bit Christo? What are the type of brands that you've worked with and what kind of the startups that you worked with? Just a few names.
A lot of Adidas I've worked with, Reebok, Vans, Timberland, Deckers, Teva, Polar Tech,
etc. So here's what I love about you. So two things. One, we share. You're a Scorpio. I have a Scorpio. What is it that I have, Nicole?
Moon.
Moon. Wow. That's awesome.
Don't show your Scorpio moon.
Don't do that. But you're doing something that is a big trend for 2015, and it's an alternative model. And let's talk about what that means. Can you tell us about Frank Creative, how you started, and what model is it that you work in?
Yeah, you bet. In about 2000, it was 1999, we really started to realize that there was a group of us who felt like there was a different way to communicate and really come together and collaborate. And how we could really better service CEOs in large organizations that either wanted to shape their brand or look at new products or investigate their communication in terms of how they could communicate more effectively. We came together as a work group, as a collective, really creating alchemies based upon the client's needs, and we put the best people to the job together.
So basically, you worked as a collective and you put projects together. Tell us a little bit about the process. So if I'm one of our viewers who has a small agency or they're a solopreneur right now, but they want to scale up and be like Sue Parker, what did you do that they would have to do in order to really begin doing these bigger projects?
Well, I mean, even with the smaller projects, the first is when you have a meeting with a client is really getting clear in terms of what the project actually is and ensuring, as we talked about, having a big dig, which is sitting down with all of the stakeholders to really find out what their wishes, their dreams and desires are based upon the project, going back, creating a proposal, meeting with the team, analyzing your hours, and submitting a proposal in terms of what you really feel it would take.
You can say it. You better say it.
Just for clarification, you said the big dig, D-I-G. So get your minds out of the gutter, everybody. The big dig. I was like, whoa, she just dropped it. Whoa.
No, but either way it works. In order to get these bigger projects, you have to have a big dig with a G in order to be able to record.
Oh, really? There it is. Reel it in.
Reel it in, Jose.
Okay. No, but you know what?
This is Jose's segment.
That's segment 1. Let's seriously talk about this. So one of the challenges that small solopreneurs and small agencies have is that they can't handle larger projects or larger clients because they don't have a strategic framework. And again, to repeat what I like about you is that you actually focus on that. You're a marketing and brand. I would call it marketing and brand wrangler or Sherpa for the teams, and then you hire the teams around to really begin to execute that. So the importance of the big dig, or of core strategy, or of strategic thinking, or of owning and controlling that aspect, is that it allows you to do these bigger projects. Explain that process. So I have a title card called The Process, which gives you guys a little bit of a hint. If we go to screen 2, there you go. Let's talk about that process. So you, on your site, call about finding your soul, embracing your position, knowing your consumers, and keep forward. Tell me what that means. What do you do with a client?
Well, that has to do with specifically with branding, because we work with a lot of companies and a lot of clients that have really lost their way, or they're just not meeting their sales expectations. So we talk to brands about who they are and what they really want to be. And then we juxtapose, we look at how they're currently communicating, how they're imaging themselves, what the language is, and then we make amendments as needed. And again, once you build this soul and this character that's visual and verbal around your brand, then you analyze all of your products. Do your products, packaging, does it all live up to and meet the expectation of what you and the team really want and expect from your brand?
Love it. Can you give us a bit of a story of an occasion where you actually executed that? What happens? Who's in the room? Who are the stakeholders involved? Just a narrative.
Oh, sure.
I like that question.
For instance, with Timberland, we launched many new lines within the Timberland organization. And again, it's everyone coming together, analyzing Timberland, the brand, what it stands for, and what new introductions and new products we could create. And from that, again, we create a brand directive, which is then moved up through shareholders, through stakeholders. Because even the board of directors, they really have to be involved. If you're talking about committing millions of dollars, everyone needs to be engaged and have a stake and an agreement in how you're going forward.
Love it. I love it. So what did you do in terms of execution once you actually did that with the stakeholders? What were, in Timberland specifically, what were the things that you did?
Right. Well, we created, for instance, a new product line, a few new product lines, the Ring Collective, Abington Shoe Company, and we built the product lines, and then, of course, all the branding and the imaging. And then from trade show B2B, how do you communicate that? What's a package that you then bring to buyers to excite them? B2B, how do you get the employees involved in terms of knowing what the new product is, what a new position, branding? Get employees excited. So really get the sales reps excited at the sales meeting. Again, you have to sell into the organization first before really you can sell to the end consumer. And then you analyze, again, how do you now share this once it's purchased by buyers and everyone's excited? How do you then communicate it to the end consumer and enroll them in terms of what you're doing?
So I love that, and here's what I'm gonna challenge before I hand it off to Chris Doe. What the challenge that people like Chris have is that they don't come from a marketing or from a strategy background per se. They come from the design background and the execution side. So you and I are super obnoxious, and we have the CEOs are our client, and we can do all that stuff very naturally. What would a designer then do? What would you recommend that a designer does aside from partner with Sue? That would help them actually be able to do those things that they need to do to get bigger projects? Like, what would your advice be?
Well, the key is that your sales materials, it's not about an individual necessarily selling, or the designer, or me. I mean, the package that you create and all of your presentations should be able to sell themselves. Does that make sense? Someone should be able to sell no matter what stage you're in terms of solving this particular problem. The people that you work with should be able to take this to anyone and share with them via presentation where you're going, what your purpose is, and what the goals are that you're trying to meet.
Love it. That's actually a perfect answer, that you don't have to do it by yourself. Sell the package, sell the team. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Miss. Go ahead.
Bring a writer in. I mean, definitely have people and respect people's expertise. Again, that's what an alchemy is all about, is really understanding your role, and then adding others around you to really support and fill in.
Thank you, Sue, for that. Appreciate that.
Great conversation, Jose.
Chris.
You did a great job with your questions. So I have a few things, if I may, Sue, just kind of follow up on the things that we talked about. I know a little bit about your agency, your model. Just for our guests, I just want a clear definition. How do you see yourself as being different than an advertising agency, an older model? Can you just quickly define how you're different?
Well, yes. First of all, there's not the overhead. The pricing is very different. Also, too, we're not just an ad agency. Again, we go in and we look at your brand. We look at product lines and product assortments, all forms of communication, whether it be designing, building websites. And again, Clean Energy Works here in Oregon, that was a very comprehensive website, all the way down to just small e-commerce sites. So again, it's really bringing together and being what they call full service. Well, a client doesn't have to pay full service because, again, we do not have employees full time. I have a staff of 10 people consistently who are really the management and the production team. And we hire amazing artists around us, writers and designers, developers, and we basically put it together for just about half the cost. And that's why a lot of CEOs like us, is because, again, we're a strategic hit team that can come in, solve a problem, take care of business, come in, come out, easy.
Love it.
Hey, I'm not familiar with that. Is that an acronym, HIT?
Team?
Hit
no,
team?
It's like a person who kills people. It's called
like an
hitman.
assassin.
So a strategic hit team is a whole team of assassins.
Great,
that
love
would
it.
be a great blind assassins.
You don't want blind assassons. Assassins
Yes,
being
you do.
blind, that's going to be
so
terrifying.
Good, they just don't see things. Anyway, Chris, keep on going. It's your time.
There's a blind samurai, so
Yeah, there you go.
Fair enough.
All right, so I guess this is my segment. I would love to ask you some more kind of nuts and bolts because I'm probably 12 plus years behind where you are. And as a designer, I'm embarking on the whole brand strategic aspect of my business. And so I think there's a whole audience that wants to know, how do we go from being a solopreneur or a small design
Small agency,
practice
yeah.
that's usually focused mostly on graphic design, fonts, colors, that sort of thing? How do we start to move towards you? Can you give us some steps and some advice there?
Well, I think that once you gain the trust of a client, what I've found is that you start off on your first project with a client, and you work on that, and you show success. And then you really share with them, again, when you're creative, there's amazing things that you can do. I've worked on films, Rigor at Risk, to ads, to building shoes, to accessories, really to anything where really my creativity and the people that I know can really take me. Does that make sense? I think that you really just start building respect and trust, and then you're moved into all facets of the organization. So again, as they say, your current client, you can really nurture for new and expansive projects.
So let me translate that for Chris Doe. What it sounds like you're saying is start doing it with smaller clients.
Doing what?
Doing more strategic
Or
work.
smaller projects with larger clients.
Right. So start doing it.
Introduce yourself to a larger client, right? But take on that smaller project to where you prove yourself. And then they'll trust you.
Okay.
And then start moving and evolving with the organization and growing with the organization.
Right. I think I know our audience really well, and when you say you prove yourself, they may have a different idea of how to prove themselves than what you're saying. I suspect that you're saying something a little bit different. So just for clarification, how do you prove yourself? Pardon me?
You prove yourself by definitely during the big dig, establishing exactly what people's expectations are for a result and an outcome.
Right. So you're really focused on results, making it quantifiable. So what are some of the results that you would kind of use as a metric to measure success?
Well, sales.
Sales.
One of the key, and the reason why that we're definitely different than ad agencies is that advertising agencies will base their communication and their success based upon awards that are given to all of us. We give each other awards. Mm-hmm. You used a fabulous designer or a great photographer. We like it. We like you. We'll give you an award. And somehow we then say that that's effective communication, effective advertising. That is not effective. If your sales go up, then that's effective communication.
That's perfect.
So, but designers, okay, it's not my turn.
No, go ahead. Oh, no,
The
go ahead.
designers might not actually be comfortable with actually getting measured by sales.
Right. I don't think they are.
Yeah, you need to get comfortable with that.
Great.
It's a big discomfort. So keep on going, Chris. Go a little deeper.
Well, no, I don't know.
You have 1 minute.
I have 1 minute. I love that you pointed out that it seems like traditional advertising agencies, and maybe some designers too, think of things of awards and awareness and how cool something looks. But to the client who's looking at a bottom line, it has no impact on their actual business. And I love that you pointed that out. Is there anything else that they should be thinking about for reframing their lens, so to speak? What other kind of metrics are you using? Are you looking at social engagement, looking at those kinds of numbers?
Well, social media has definitely given us, great numbers that we can look at where we really understand the impact and our reach and things like that. And finance people love social media because, again, promotions and advertising, it's always been very nebulous. Was it the product team? Was it the sales team? Is it really your communication, right? But again, to drive a corporation, it's a 4 or 6 cylinder car. Your product has to be right, sales, operations, again, building demand and not being able to supply it, supply to that demand operations. All cylinders, 4, 6, have to be working in line.
Great. I'm going to ask you some kind of really straightforward business questions, if I may, and if it's uncomfortable for you to disclose, just nod and then we'll move on. You said that you're about 10 employees and the rest is a large pool of freelancers. What are your annual billings? I'm just curious because I'm very envious of your business.
Well, it's about between 1.5 to 2 million every year.
Okay. And where have you seen that in terms of the trend, in terms of the last, 5 years? Has it leveled off? Is it growing? Is it in decline? Where's it trending?
Well, we had a crazy creative recession. However, our business stayed very, very steady. Again, we've been doing a lot more work, though, for the same pricing as we talked about yesterday. So there is definitely, based upon the creative recession, there has been an absolute change in terms of billings.
So I'm going to do a Carnegie the Magnificent, like for those of you who are old enough to remember
Johnny Carson.
I'm going to say that in 2007, 2008, your billings were probably at 3.5 to 4 million, and you were doing $500,000 projects on average.
No, I actually have maintained, again, for me, I've really been on a maintenance schedule in terms of my business. Again, there's a certain amount of work. I like to really have a work-life balance, if you will. So just adding on more and more clients and more revenue. I really focus on the quality of my clients and maintaining a certain amount of people that work in my studio. Again, a really nice maintained flow.
So this is not Carnegie because you already told us yesterday. So you went from $500,000 projects, maybe doing 3 or 4 a year, to doing a lot more projects that are now 50 to 150 to 200. That's
absolutely
that's what happened.
So that's a trend.
So it's a trend. Right. So that's a huge trend across the board, and it's a real hard one to figure out.
Well, the other trend that you just pointed out was the pursuit of being rich versus being wealthy. There's a quality of life that you're looking for, and that really speaks to, I think, our generation right now, right?
Well, we talked about Dharma. If we go to my second screen, and that's something that we didn't get to in the segment, but really pursuing clients that you're aligned with and clients that you really love what you're doing. Dharma is really the measure of what you do in life that's right, that's like righteous, or else you come back as a cow. I don't know. What is that? Am I close? Is that even close to what it is? Sue?
Well, Dharma, it's channeling, again, what your expertise is, what you really feel. It's using your Dharma and connecting it with other people to create a better whole. Again, we talk about that a lot in our community work. We partner with a lot of different people, and again, collaboration is critical, right? Bringing different people together that have different Dharmas, great writers, great illustrators, amazing writers. And you bring all of these people together in a collective and you make great things. One key thing, though, as it relates to pricing, again, given this new economy, what happens is that you have a lot of predatory practices. Money is respect. And always remember, as a young designer, if anyone who is getting paid comes to you and asks you to do the work for free, walk away. The beginning of the relationship will tell you a lot about how the rest of the relationship will be. If they don't respect you enough to pay you, respect is money, then that means that they probably don't and move away from it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
good.
Wait, can I?
Yeah, you have another question?
Yeah, I just have one more business question, if I may. So there's a lot of people get confused by gross revenue and then margins. On $2 million of revenue, what are your percentages of? What's your margin on that?
Margin is horrific in service. For instance, in product, we can get 50, 60 points. We design it once, we concept it, we design it, and then when new orders come in, we press a button. If operations is working correctly, based upon forecast, you're making a lot of money in high profit margin. In service, particularly in art, we have to recreate everything that we do. We might have knowledge from another client or exposure to a market, but every brand is different. Every brand, the writing, the tone, the feeling, the stylizing, the products, all brands are unique unto themselves.
So that's not an answer, but it's lower.
No. Okay, so
you're looking at 25, 35%.
Right.
Although there are some companies, though, some larger agencies that are able to get far higher points.
Well, I think that's wonderful, actually. If you have a great lifestyle and a quality of life and you're doing $2 million in revenue, and you're keeping 25 to 35%, corporate America would kill for that. So let's not overlook that fact. You're doing great.
And I think there's a lot of other substantial questions as it relates to not just only the lifestyle aspect, but what I think that doing good as a model and really the business aspect of that. Tell us a little bit about the type of projects that you are doing that are about doing good, and what do those look like both from a Christo point of view financially, but also from a spiritual and an emotional point of view for you?
From a Jose point of view.
Whatever, dude.
You did it to me.
I think that it's very important. Again, we bring in profit, and we're part of a very important community, as you are as well. And giving back, again, using our Dharma to really support the community. As you know, with Friends of Trees, again, we took that on about 4 or 5 years ago. We used all of our collective good. Street Roots is my new nonprofit that I'm now taking on. And again, I look at these organizations all the way beginning. What is your identity? What is your logo? How do you image yourself? How do you talk about yourself? How do you show up? What does your website look like? How do you communicate? How do you interact at trade shows? How do you show up when you put a door hanger on the door? Really looking at the entire organization. And I think it's critically important. Again, I could sell another pair of sneakers very, very easily tomorrow. However, selling trees is far more important, as well as saving people and saving lives. So I think that all of us, while we can look at our dharmas and figure out how we make our own personal money from that, also too looking at the community as to how you can give back is critical.
So let me ask a Chris Do question.
Can you just ask hold on. Just ask a Jose question.
Okay, you ask a Chris Do question.
Can I ask
do you charge us as much? You go ahead, ask that.
Do what?
Do you charge as much to your nonprofits as your regular clients?
Oh, okay. Do you charge as much to your nonprofits as your regular clients? That's a Chris Do question.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. For instance, Street Roots is completely free. Absolutely. I would never charge homeless people a dime.
What kind of satisfaction do you get out of it? Because that's not computing. Right now, Chris Do's like, and the machine just shut down.
Let me reboot.
What does that give you personally, but also, does that do anything for your business?
Well, yes, personally, I think it's very, very important, and I only do things that I really believe in. Homelessness is a key issue that as owners of companies and being part of this community, we need to take hold of, and we need to look at, because again, the government does not have money right now. So therefore, we need to look at a community as to how we're going to solve some of our problems. So I think it's imperative in terms of being a business person and wanting to live in a great community. I think it's imperative. It's not always all about making money, and obviously that's why I differ from most. Again, I enjoy a certain lifestyle, and absolutely, if I could 24/7 use my Dharma just to give back to the community and do good works, I certainly would. However, I know that I need to sell things, and I need to work for clients that are commercial, and so therefore I do that as well.
Great.
I actually have a question for Sue. So you were talking about the business structure that you have, and you have a lot of satellite designers, and there's going to be a lot of categories of people that are they want to be you, and then there's the others that would want to work for a company like yours. Do you have one solid piece of advice for either group?
Or both?
Or for both. Sorry. Thank you.
I think that just being forthright in terms of and having self-confidence in terms of you and in terms of your business associates and knocking on doors, I think that that's the best way to start something like this, a cooperative. I don't know.
Well,
okay, that's okay.
Answer.
Well,
okay. Yeah,
I have a great
answer.
question from Boise here. It says, if we were your clients, what might you say to us about our branding or with branding?
Oh, goodness gracious, I'm not going to critique you right here.
I think Boise was trying to make us look
Boise's trying to basically, that was a setup, Boise.
No, I was
Well, how
actually,
about this?
I was
Let
actually
me
trying to get a
rephrase.
little free advice from a master in branding and marketing. Can you rephrase that in a way that's
I
a
think
little?
You're great, and you're totally on it. I mean, just in terms of podcasting, now for so long, I mean, I could always hide behind, again, PR people and media and editors. And just with podcasts and being out there, this is a real change of game here.
Well, I'll reverse the role, and I think you would be a good podcaster. You look great on camera.
Here, here.
So,
Well,
Thank you.
how about I rephrase the question then? Maybe if we're new clients, how would you present yourself to us so that
Very
we
good.
have something to model?
Very good.
You're a very special person who knows sales, advertising, marketing, branding, strategy. That's a lot of skill sets wrapped into one, as Jose already pointed out, beautiful package. So can you come to us and talk to us about how you would present yourself if we were clients?
Well, what I would recommend in terms of you looking at, sure, I would just sit down with you and talk about really what you see your vision for the next 3 to 5 years. Really, who do you want to be? And then we would build a game plan toward that in terms of where you're at right now, what your product is, how you're communicating, how you're promoting yourself, and then build toward that and put the right resources in the right places.
awesome. So we're going to do a final thoughts here for, we're going to try to get me for final thoughts in 30 seconds.
No, you
could
could take 45.
Okay, take a minute, 45 seconds.
Take
Okay.
45.
So here are my final thoughts on today's episode and our conversation with Sue. The alternative business model of being a collective or a work group, as she calls it, is actually a very good model to actually pursue. The biggest challenge is what she said, which is how do you get a diverse group of people in Dharma to kind of like interact together. And at the core of that is really strategic thinking and being somebody who knows how to wield that. So that's kind of what I heard from Sue. And I know that Chris says, well, that's very self-serving. No, that's what this damn show is all about. At the end of the
Self-serving?
day. Well, no, about our philosophical framework.
Yeah. What I'm hearing from Sue is that if you want to graduate from being a designer and you want to get into a practice like the one that Sue has built, you have to start talking about strategy, branding, marketing, and really focusing on the goals, the tangible results that you produce, either in sales, engagement, something else besides it looking good and winning awards. Because ultimately, clients are not going to pay you to help you win awards for yourself.
We have
That's
one
totally
question.
ineffective.
Love it.
We have one question from.
Oh, we have one question?
Yeah, we have one question from Brandlift. What would you recommend for making connections and landing new, larger customers? By larger, I mean small biz versus big corporation.
Yeah. The key is really your presentation in terms of knocking on the door and when you get a meeting in terms of how you really show up. Again, this is all very cliche. Know their business. Have your research done. Again, be able to talk with them and also to move them into conversation about their brand, about the various topics to figure out, again, where could you get your big toe in? How could you help? How could you service them? Really get them talking. Because again, you're not an expert. No matter how much research you do, you really need the people internally to support you and to pull out of them the organization, its goals, and what their needs are, right? So it's really creating that environment, again, to get people talking, to get them comfortable, to show them examples that will get them ideating and projecting.
Great.
Love it. Any final thoughts, Sue, like for the last second here to add to that?
Wait. Before Sue does the final thoughts, I just wanted to paraphrase what Sue said because I thought that was really powerful and great. There's something about packaging yourself because people want to be around people that are like them or that they like to be like. So if you're coming in at a certain entry point and you're not being authentic, you can't really relate to that brand, that company, that person. They're not going to want to work with you. Luckily, though, graphic designers are really good at putting together a nice package. So you need to elevate your own packaging. That's what I heard, Sue.
That's right. Again, key, you guys, don't forget about the strategic business unit, okay? If you're the designer, you want around you an account manager as well as, again, strategic business unit, as well as that finance ops. A lot of times, designers, you can design amazing things, but you don't want to pick up that phone and ask for the client to call you. To pay you, rather. Good guy, bad guy, right? Make sure that you're aligned and you have a strategic business unit. Again, creative direction, account management, new business, and finance and operations, okay?
So, Sue, thank you so much for joining us today. This, first and foremost, was a pleasure to talk to you. I want to thank you for just taking the time to hanging out with us. And what's your Twitter? Can you tell everybody your Twitter?
Yes, it's at Frank Advice.
Love that.
At Frank Advice.
Frank
Thank
Advice.
you so much.
And we'll see you guys in Portland at World IA Day in February.
We'll see you guys in Portland at the end of February.
Right on.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh, well.
Thanks.
Oh, do we want to promo it now? Here we go. So now we're going to talk about our next show, which is February 10th. And that's going to be a very interesting show because it's somebody that Chris has been really wanting to have on the show, Mark Fiddleman, who's the CEO of Rainforest. And he's also a Forbes columnist and the author of the book Socialize, the Influencer Manifesto. We're going to be talking about creating successful influencer campaigns, something that you as a designer, you really need to know. Chris Doe is the most obnoxious man on social media. I learn from
the best.
Thank you so much. All right, so we'll see you guys next week. Anything else?
That's it. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Sue Parker.
Thank you.
Hey, look at that.
Great. Good job, guys.
Was that the best show? Thank you, Sue. You're awesome.
Audio's hot.
We'll have
Thanks, Sue.
Woo!
Come
Good
to
job.
World IA Day.
I still want to shoot that promo as its own separate thing.
What happened?
Before we leave.